Okay, so Hurricane Milton, right. Like, you see it all over the news. It's like every time you turn around, there's a new update about Florida. And we're here to, like, cut through all that and really get into what's happening.
Yeah, it's so easy to get like caught up in the initial like, whoa, a hurricane, And today, our deep dive is really going to use um, this disaster watch episode to kind of go beyond just those headlines.
Yeah, we don't just want the what. We want to understand what this all means for the people who are actually dealing with Hurricane Milton, right?
And what's interesting is Milton, it came ashore as a Category 3 hurricane, right? There was definitely some serious wind,
Yeah.
but it's actually the flooding that's turning out to be a bigger problem in some areas. You know what I mean?
So that's not something you always hear about right away, is it?
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the wind speed, the category.
Yeah.
You're saying it's the rain we should really be paying attention to.
100%. Like, look at Pinellas County, over 18 inches of rain.
Oh, wow.
I mean, can you imagine? That's like taking your bathtub and just dumping it out all over the city.
That's wild. And I know we were talking about the barrier islands being totally shut down. What does that even look like? Are people stuck there? I mean, what happens?
It's pretty chaotic, to be honest. People are cut off, no supplies, no way to really get around easily.
Hmm.
So it goes way beyond that initial hit from the wind. This is where the lasting effects really kick in.
It's like a ripple effect almost, huh? So it's not just that first punch, it's everything that comes after.
Mhm.
Are there any places in Pinellas County that are getting hit especially hard by the flooding?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of problems in St. Petersburg, Gulfport, Leelman. People without water having to boil what they do have. And then there's this worry about rivers and lakes overflowing more inland, too.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, it's a lot to deal with on top of everything else.
It's like even after the storm is gone, there's a whole other disaster happening, right? All these other problems that pop up.
Totally. And that recovery, getting things back to normal, that's a huge deal. Way more complicated than it might seem.
Yeah. And from what they were saying in that disaster watch thing, it sounds like first responders are having a tough time even getting to people. Like they were talking about having to clear out trees and stuff just to get emergency services in there.
That access is huge. Got to have that right away.
Yeah.
And the Tampa sheriff, I thought what he said was really important about people needing to stay off the streets and let them prioritize those emergency calls.
Well, yeah, because you think, okay, storm's over, I'm going to go check things out.
Right. Exactly.
But you don't know what you're walking into, down power lines, flooding, who knows?
Exactly. It's still dangerous, even when you think it's not. And it's not just over there on the West Coast either. What about St. Lucie County? Remember, they got hit with those tornadoes.
Oh, right, right. Easy to forget about that with the hurricane coming in, too. What happened over there?
Whole other level of damage. Really sad. They were talking about fatalities and that disaster watch thing. It's awful.
Yeah.
Shows you just how unpredictable this stuff is.
It's just crazy. You have one huge thing to worry about, and then out of nowhere, more destruction.
Exactly. Preparedness is key. Awareness where we can track these storms better, but you just never really know.
No.
Mother Nature, right.
Absolutely. But even with all that going on, people are still trying to pick up the pieces, figure out what to do next. That part in the disaster watch episode with the person at the shelter,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, talking about being grateful.
that got to me. Hearing their stories, it's more than just the damage to houses and stuff.
Right.
Makes you think about the human cost of all this.
Absolutely, yeah. The human cost. So important to remember that.
It really does make you think about that, you
Yeah.
know? Like we should talk about categories and damage, but it's people's lives that get turned upside down.
Absolutely. And you could hear it in that person's voice, right? That's the human side of all this, how communities come together when things like this happen.
So where do we go from here? The storm's passed, but it seems like this is just the beginning for a lot of people, trying to rebuild and all that.
Yeah. It's a long road ahead for sure. We heard the governor's declared a state of emergency, right? So that means federal aid should be coming in.
Okay, so that's good at least. But what about right now? What are the biggest concerns for people on the ground while they're waiting for things to happen?
Well, they were saying in the disaster watch episode, even though it seems calmer, people got to be careful. Still a lot of flooding, debris everywhere, plus power's still out a lot of places. Who knows how long that'll take, right?
It's got to be so frustrating. I mean, not just the damage, but all the waiting and not knowing when things will be back to normal.
And that's why it's so important, that community aspect, people helping each other out, looking out for each other. Not just the physical stuff, but the emotional support too.
Makes you realize prepping for a hurricane, it's not just about boarding up windows. It's about your neighbors, your community, knowing where to turn if you need help.
That's it, exactly. We think about the immediate stuff, the storm itself, but it's that long aftermath, that's where real strength comes in.
It's kind of amazing in a way. terrible thing to happen, but you also see the best in people coming together to rebuild and learn from it all.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Really shows you what people are capable of.
Well, this has been eye-opening. Really makes you appreciate the power of these storms, but also the resilience of the people who go through them. Thanks for breaking it all down with us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for listening to this deep dive with us. We'll catch you next time.
See you later.